Hi everyone, I am Renata Sumar Gaertner and I'm here with my mom, Sivakami, founder of the Sonia Sumar Method, Yoga for All Abilities. Welcome to our new weekly video vlog, Conversations with Sonia Sivakami Sumar. Each week, we'll share stories, teaching, and reflections from Sivakami's more than 50 years of experience, bringing yoga to children and adults of all abilities. These conversations are for parents, teachers, therapists, yoga teachers, and anyone who wants to understand the heart of this method. Today, in our first conversations, we'll begin with a question many people ask. How do we help a child to participate? And Sonia brings us back to something very important. Before we teach, we cultivate confidence. Let's begin. So, Mom, when a parent, teacher, therapist, or yoga teacher asks, how do I get the child to cooperate? What do you hear underneath that question?
That's the question. Yeah, that is the question that usually comes in the first day of the program because usually the majority of audience during the program is our physical therapists, occupational therapists, and other therapists in general. And as I am explaining the work, how they question their minds are kind of, but how can I work with that child if the child reacts this or that way? How can I have the child working with me? And of course, when demos come into the programs, in-person programs, they always bring me those kind of challenging children.
Of course, of course.
So anyway, this method is completely different. Let's say that it has different kind of approaches. First thing first, we are there without no expectations like this child has Down syndrome, or this child has autism, or the child has cerebral palsy. We are there just to work with a child. What we see there is a child.
I
And
understand.
I am always reminding my students that we are not doctors. We are not there to diagnose the child. We know, we have the knowledge about, but we are not there to put the label in front. We are there to work with a child. That's why usually we don't say a Down syndrome child, an autistic child. No, we say a child that has Down syndrome. So we put the child in front.
That makes sense.
This is one thing. The other thing there, it is gonna be age of the child. Usually, the tendency of majority of people is to expect that a 3 years old child, a 4 years old child, a 6 years old child acts like me, the teacher or the therapist. We want that they behave this, that, or that way. It is very difficult for a child, that age child, to do things that an adult that's 30 years old or 20 years old or 6 years old or 80 years old is doing. It is easier, it's much easier for the teacher to go to the child because the teacher has been there in that 6 years old, 7 years old, 3 years old. So the teacher has an obligation to understand what behavior a child at that age might have.
What it
So,
feels like to be that age, right?
yeah, right. So I would feel extremely boring to be in a class where I have to act like an adult. I would be, if I was 7 years old, 6 years old, I would be extremely boring. And so the question here is, but how? How can I do? I said, you have to use your creativity. There is something, I am not asking you to act like a 6 years old child. I'm not asking that. You are the teacher. But I am asking you to use creativity. Usually, people use toys to call the child's attention, toys or books or pictures, things like that. We don't use this usually, but there is a kind of connectivity in between us, and that's what we look for. That kind of friendship in between the teacher and the child, that the child feels comfortable, feels okay. You come with a kind of approaches like, oh, I have something to share with you. You know, for example, if I want to teach the child Bhastrika, and then how can I explain, how can I give the child a technique? So, oh, you do this way here. So if I do this way here, which might be that way that I teach an adult, the child is not going to be interested. The child can even imitate it, but it's not something that the child really learns because it had some kind of interesting explanation from the teacher. So that I don't use it in all the classes, but when I am explaining for the first time, I can do like, you know what? I have a breathing exercise in yoga that sounds like the Thomas train. And the child look at me and say, you don't believe me. It's like when I am, like if I was telling the child a history, a story that when the child goes to the bed, you count that story for the child. So it's like that. Oh, you don't believe me? I tell you, this breathing exercise sounds like that guy. Just imagine Thomas train departing from the train station. And then it goes slowly in the beginning, like, can you hear me that? Can you hear that sound? And then the train begins to speed, and it goes like, and the choo choo, and the child gets fascinated. Then the train is approaching to the next train station and start to slow down and finish. Huh? So just for the child to learn the technique, then the child does, imitating. Next class, when I teach the child again, I don't use the choo-choo train anymore. I just come and show. Now we are going to do Bhastrika. Do you remember Bhastrika? That speeds. So you go like, and the child imitates, and very interesting is that the child doesn't ask for the Thomas train again. The child just follows. Because the child understood, so I never underestimate the child. The child understands. Once the child understands, I don't need to repeat the example any longer. The child already knows. The child already knows. So, uh, This is the kind of thing. First, so resuming, first thing first, we have no expectations. No expectations. We don't are not expect the child doing this way or that way. We are just trying to be bonding with that child in a way that the child can really feel comfortable and do what usually they do. I want to do the yoga class, or I want to go to the yoga class. The child usually loves to come to the yoga class because we are not expecting them to accomplish in 3 months this or 6 months that or 1 year there. The child has to reach goals. That's not in yoga, it doesn't happen. We just are there, and because we are not putting any pressure on the child to learn this or that or that, we are just acting naturally, and then the child really improves. Another thing that makes the child feeling very, very good about is to ask the child for doing tasks that are very easy, but you when you present that task, you present the task like being very difficult thing. Now I have a yoga position here that is so difficult. I hope you can do. Then I do something very easy. And then the child does that. I said, I cannot believe you did it. So all these kind of things make the child feeling more and more self-confident, which usually is the opposite. The child has so many very difficult challenges in other approaches that the child feels discouraged sometimes because is difficult and the child feels the pressure. So what we try to make is an environment of easy things that can develop confidence in that child, that empowers, let's use that word, empowers the child from inside out, because we are not seeing any labels, any negativities there. We are just there passing things according with the child's uh, um, needs. According with the child's needs, we present that kind of things, and that's the way we have all the children responding very, very well, very, very well. Renata, because I'm sure that it happens with you as well. It happens with all the teachers. A child comes and we are told that that child cannot be there focusing more than 5 minutes. And then the child comes, we teach the class very softly like that, with that kind of bonding with the child. And the child ends up doing 30, 35 minutes class, sometimes 40, 45 minutes class. And that's when the students, the let's say the program participants begin to believe. I still remember very well when years ago, 50 years ago, I came here and no one was talking about yoga for the special child. So people would come to my program, and when I start to explain how to bond with the child, they would look at me like, what the heck is this woman talking about? And then they would believe me when the demo comes for me to work with. Then I would show them everything I was trying to explain with words. I was doing in front of them by acting with the child there. And the child would be in front of more than 20 people doing everything there and totally focused without having me using any kind of toys. any kind of helps there. And the child does. And the more interesting yet, you know what is?
What is that?
Teaching yoga everywhere in the world. When I'm teaching to the child, I never have a translator. I don't speak the child's language because I don't speak all the language. I know the child doesn't speak my language, but that kind of vibe, that kind of thing that is uniting us there, difficult to explain in words, but it's kind of respect, connectivity, trust, yeah, like this. So it is amazing that the child follows everything, everything, and even do deep relaxation because it's the vibe of my words that are gonna make it that kind of work on the nervous system to really go deep inside.